Good afternoon, delegates, and welcome to the second live stream of 2021 CONA. My name is Antoine from the state of Washington.
I'm Lindsay Powers from Kentucky.
And we are so excited to be back with you to share some of media's hard work these past couple of days. Feel free to drop any questions you have for us in the chat, and we'll answer them at the end of our live stream.
Today, we will first talk to some of our fellow media team members. Then we will meet some of our adorable, fluffy CONA friends before wrapping up the show with the next segment of Love Knows No Limits.
Without further ado, let's get right into it.
Together, we will explore the evolution of CONA media and take a closer look at how the media team operates on the day-to-day.
Please welcome our guests from Oklahoma, Jennifer Hill and Cynthia Aturu. Okay, so hello, Cynthia and Jen. Oh, wait a minute for them to get connected.
Okay. Hi.
Hi. Hi. So nice to meet both of you again, and we'll begin. For our first question, this one's for both of you. How did you first get involved with media or YAG?
Why don't you tell your story first? Mine's long.
Okay. So I was just looking for some after school activities to do, and I've always been pretty interested in government. And one of my friends, she was the media director in my freshman year, and she told me that I should try and apply. And I did, and I ended up really liking it. So just by a friend.
Cool. Well, I am a high school teacher in Oklahoma City, and I was a debate coach when a friend of mine said, "Hey, I've heard about this great program. I think we need to start it at our school." And so we did, and we took a club to Oklahoma State Conference. At that time, Oklahoma did not have a media program. And at the end of the conference, our state director at the time said, "I want to start this program if anyone is interested in helping." Well, I'm not going to lie, I was kind of bored just sitting and watching. And so I said, "Well, sure, I'll help." And I figured there'd be like 3 or 4 adults. There were not. It was me. And so the next year, Oklahoma started a media program with a paper newspaper, and a broadcast that a friend from Texas came and helped us with. And then we've grown into much of what you see in CONA media today is done in the Oklahoma program. So that's how.
Thanks so much. Now, a question just specifically for Jen. How has CONA media evolved since you first got started?
Oh my gosh. So in the olden days, we would do a newspaper every day, and we had to make copies in Eureka Hall in a little office, and that copier would jam, but we would run them every day. And we would run a little video at the nightly devotion on the screen where everyone could see. There was no internet. There was no social media. This would have been like 2003. So internet was like on Earth, but not so much at CONA. And so as social media became a thing, as internet connections became better at the conference, we did more and more electronically. And now we no longer print a paper. And I think the virtual conference is just going to keep us propelling into electronic media. And even when we're physically back together, that's probably where you'll see us, is more in cyberspace than in physical spaces.
Great. Thank you, Lindsay and Jen. Now for a question specifically for Cynthia. Can you tell us a little more about the day-to-day operation of the media team and what it's like as a delegate?
Absolutely. So media is a very hardworking branch because we do most of our work around the time of a conference or specifically at a conference. And we do so many different segments. Like we have podcasts, articles. We're doing a blog this year. There's video production. Like we try to cover as many forms. Oh, and there's social media as well. We cover as many forms of media as we can. And we have everyone trying everything. So someone who's done podcast once tries article writing the next time and so forth. So we work really hard to communicate with our other delegates and other branches and put out stories for them. And it's just really enriching to provide that sort of that form of entertainment for everyone.
Well, thank you so much, both of you, for joining us today. And now the time has finally come. We will now meet our fellow delegates, fluffy CONA companions. While the slideshow plays, you can keep popping your questions in the chat, and we'll be sure to get to them at the end of our live stream today. Thank you all for sending in your pictures, and now we'll move on to our final segment.
For the last bit of today's live stream, we will hear from two delegates in an installment of Love Knows No Limits. Please welcome Audrey Elwood from Washington State as she reflects on her experiences.
Hello, my name is Riley Potter from the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I am here today with Delegate Audrey Elwood of Washington State. Audrey has stepped forward to talk about the LGBTQ plus community. So Audrey, what exactly would you like to talk about?
I would like to talk about basically my experience coming out into a biphobic household and how I've dealt with that.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so last year I decided to come out. It wasn't actually my decision. I was forced to kind of come out, and my mom was not too receptive of that. Before that, my mother had said very nasty thing about bisexual people, as like they have STDs and they're cheaters and all this other stuff. She had very bad preconceived notions of them. So when I came out, she was not too happy about it. So when I went to school the next day, she basically sent me a text saying, "You're going to your father, so you're not coming home tonight." I was crushed. I wanted to come out and have this be this great experience, but it wasn't. And I was so sad about it. But then a couple days later, my mom did some research and she studied a little more on bisexual people, and no, they don't actually all have STDs. And she said that she was sorry and she tried to make up for it. And I was hurt still, but I went back. And now I do not hold any grudge against her. See, with coming out and bisexual people, a lot of people, especially older people, have negative preconceived notions. But with my mom, all it took was for her to finally sit down and research about it, that she became more open-minded. And that's what I encourage everybody to do. If you have some preconceived notion about somebody in the LGBTQ community, then research on them. And most of the time you'll accept them because it's not you who's being affected, it's them. And you want to be as nice as possible.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Audrey, for joining me to talk about and raise awareness for issue. And I'm so glad that your situation worked out as well as it did. I really enjoyed listening to your experiences, and I hope our audience also came out with something to think about, and we'll do that research that you were talking about. And to our audience, keep raising that awareness, and happy Pride.
Thanks, Audrey and Riley. Now we will speak to Sasha Shishoff from the Free State of Maryland.
Hello, my name is Riley Potter from the Commonwealth of Virginia, and I'm here today with fellow media delegate Sasha Shishoff of Maryland. Sasha has so graciously stepped forward to talk about her experiences as being part of the LGBTQ plus community. So Sasha, could you tell us about what your identity is, your experience, and some advice to other delegates?
Just a little bit about my identity. The process of finding it lasted years, but only this year did I really find a label that fit me comfortably. For the longest time, I identified as a cisgender, bisexual woman. And only this year, after I shaved my head and then had a whole gender crisis, did I realize that I identify as gender fluid. Certain days I feel very feminine, certain days I feel very masculine. Both she, her, and he, him pronouns work for me. Gender terms, great, love it. And similarly, with the term bisexual versus lesbian, I realized this year the term lesbian is very sexualized in the media and just in generally society. And it was only after I realized that did the term start fitting for me. It was taking back that power in the word that I found so important and that I really related to. And once I started to resonate with that word, I started thinking about it. And I was like, yeah, no, I am a lesbian. Like, that's who I am. With that, I would like to give some advice. Not that my experience is the golden one, but it is, I think that a lot of us have a similar experience that I can probably speak to. So your identity is your own, and no one can tell you who you are. Only you can tell people who you are. That being said, you don't have to know. You don't have to be at this place where everything makes sense and you have your label and you understand and everything's great. It can be a confusing process, and I'm lucky that I grew up in an area that was pretty accepting of me and who I am. And I went to a very hippie school where we just did art all day and everyone was super like on board with that. So it was a safe environment for me to come out. I came out in 4th grade and everyone was just like, yeah, no, we know. So I don't know, but if you're in a place where you are unsafe to come out or it's dangerous or could put you in danger, I'd really say that you don't have to. Just be comfortable in who you are and safety first. That being said, no matter where you are, there will be backlash of some sort. Even for me, coming from a very accepting place, I still got some comments from people, like jokes about my identity, which, you kind of laugh at, but whatever. And I get people, like I've had friends that have found out and have treated me differently because there is this stigma about gay people and being predatory, which is wildly untrue, just in case that needs to be clarified. It's made me lose a lot of friendships, or a couple of them, and those weren't friendships that were meant to happen, but it still hurt at the time, especially when I wasn't so confident in who I am. But yeah, you don't have to figure things out. The internet is a great place for resources to find like words that might fit you. Labels can be really divisive and can get to a point where it just gets confusing sometimes for people. But on the flip side of that, labels also give you a sense of identity and can help guide you in your journey towards identity. So don't shy away from labels if you feel like that would help you. Yeah.
Do you have any advice for people who may not know a lot about the LGBTQ plus community?
First, the obvious thing is respect. Approach it with respect and kindness, and from a place of just wanting to understand and not like pushing your own ideas onto it. Even if it's something that you have no experience with, no understanding, we the gay community, we understand. We understand because a lot of us like personally have had confusion about our identities and have gone through that what is going on phase, and so we get it, as long as there's respect and identity. Also understanding that sometimes a person may not want to talk about it. Gender identity, sexual identity, it can be a very painful process for people. So be aware of the fact that someone might say, no, I don't want to talk about it. It's too hard for me to talk about. And just understanding that that's not anything personal. It's just the way that it is. But when you ask questions, like I personally love to talk about it. I love explaining who I am and hopefully helping other people do the same. And like people have described me as very openly gay, and I would go for that description. I'm very proud of who I am, and ideally everyone would find pride in who they are. It's just a hard concept for sometimes. Besides that, just be respectful, and a lot of us will answer questions, and a lot of us will, and you know what? Mess ups will probably happen. Sometimes, as long as they're not blatantly homophobic, we get the mess ups happen. And as long as it's not a repeated action, we get it. Don't feel too afraid of saying the wrong thing, because we get it. Or at least I get it, and I would assume that a lot of other people would. But again, every gay person is different, surprise. So I would just gauge the situation by person.
Thank you so much, Sasha, for joining me to talk and raise awareness for such a pertinent issue. I really enjoyed listening to your experiences, and I hope our audience also came out with something to think about too.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. Before we wrap up this afternoon, we want to give all of you some friendly reminders about today's schedule. Research advisory rooms will be open shortly from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Time, so make sure to stop by if you need any assistance. Additionally, Veggie Wrap Assembly will begin in session from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and a second round of resource advisory rooms will open 1 hour after GA. Will be opened 1 hour after GA.
If you need to take another look at today's schedule, head over to Wild Apricot, and while you're there, make sure to check out the media tab. You can find all of our amazing stories and our social media there. So have fun reading and exploring.
Okay, and now we'll move on to answer a few of your questions. For our first question, let's take a look. For first question, what would your proposals have been about if you hadn't done media? Lindsay, you want to go first?
Sure. My proposal probably would have been about finding some way to regulate insulin levels, or not insulin levels, but getting insulin to people that need insulin if they can't afford it. So if you have diabetes and you have to take insulin with your meals, but it's a struggle for you to find it, finding a way to regulate so people that need it in lower income or that can't quite afford it can get insulin that they need. What would yours have been?
I think for me, if I hadn't done media, I honestly probably wouldn't have gone to CONA, because I don't consider myself the best debater, and I just like writing instead. So this is my place, I guess.
And another question we had were what are some of the hardest parts of being part of the media team, and what makes the hardship so worth it?
I think for me, one of the hardest parts is just trying to balance all the projects you have going on and everything. But then what makes it so worth it is seeing everything go out. And then I guess the joy of seeing your work getting turned into something that other people can enjoy and look at, I guess.
A struggle for me is trying to balance everything and not overwork yourself and not have too many projects trying to go at once. But it's so worth it when you know you're getting information to people and you can see how they reflect on other people. Like when you know that people are reading your things and watching or listening to what you post, and you see that it's going out somewhere.
And I think this might be our final question. What has been your favorite part of media this year?
My favorite part of media this year would be, I don't know, probably just getting to meet a bunch of all of the media delegates are amazing, and getting to talk to all of the POs, which was really nice. I got to have just a short interview type with them just to get to know them a little better.
So far, my favorite part of media has probably been having all sorts of conversations with delegates in interviews, and also waking up really early, because here in Pacific time, I start our media Zooms at 7 a.m. So I got to get up before then, which I like. I like getting up early, I guess, in the summer, even when I don't have to. It feels very productive. So that's been one of my highlights of this year so far.
And with that, I'll conclude our second live stream of CONA 2021. Thank you to everyone who contributed, and thank you to everyone in the audience, and we will see you all soon.
Happy debating, delegates. Bye.